Another Yeezy 350 V2? Well, of course, because I have a theory about that I've been talking about in the videos I've been doing about the Yeezys recently, and we'll get to that in this video. We'll talk about that strange piece of grey detailing on there that I just don't think has a place on a sneaker. I don't really know why it's there, but it's there in 3 different places, and it's like, what are you doing there? And then there's the name of the sneaker, Zyon, which kind of links in with a bunch of the other Yeezys that have dropped in recent times, and there's a pattern sort of developing. There's a pattern developing in the name of the 350s and Yeezys in general. There's a pattern developing in the colorways that are dropping, and there's a pattern developing in the sales that they're using with Yeezys these days. And all of those things and that little hit of grey on there that I'm going to talk about is going to come in this video as we look at the upcoming release of the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Zyon. This is the Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel, Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel. Des,毎日 Absuno de, 毎日 見てください. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news and sneaker reviews. And today the one that we're looking at is the upcoming release of the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Zyon, and a bunch of stuff that I already told you about at the start of the video. But before we do that, let me tell you that I look like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. I get told that all the time. Not. I never get told that. In fact, nobody ever gets told that because he's a unique character and he's a unique guy. But what I did get once was somebody paid me the worst compliment ever, and I think it was a backhanded comment or compliment, or what's the word they say in the UK is damned with faint praise and things like that. And what I got was that I look like Harrison Ford. I thought, well, you know, okay, I can take that compliment. But then my friend followed that with, I look like Harrison Ford from the hair up. Okay, thank you. But you know what? I don't look like Harrison Ford. I don't look like Keanu Reeves. I might look a bit like Will Ferrell. But what the thing that I'm thinking about right now is that Matrix tie-up, because in the Matrix, one of the central parts of it is the city of Zion in 2099, is it, or is it 2199 in the future? That city of Zion. But that city of Zion plays a big part in the history of Judaism and religious elements of that as well. And that's where there's this crazy tie-up with Yeezy, with Kanye West, with the line where things are going right now. And I want to get into that today, get into this colorway, and get into some of those details on there. So first things first, let's look at that name. And there is definitely something religious going on at the Yeezy line. And it goes right back to Kanye West last year, bringing out that gospel, can I say gospel album, reinventing himself as a more religious person, more spiritual person. And since then we've seen a bunch of Yeezys dropping that are particularly named to go kind of coincide with that sort of religious vibe. Now, it's not always the case. We had the tail lights, for example, or we had the cinders, you know, those kind of things. Not at all got that overtune or overture to religion. But then we also had sneakers like the Azael, I can't even pronounce it, Azael, the Yechiel, the Yisrael, and now here we are with the Zion. So there's definitely a sort of tie-up, a religious feel about it going on there. Whether or not that's deliberate, or whether or not there's a purpose behind that, or if it's just, you know, something that Yee feels like doing, who knows. But that is definitely a pattern that's coming out with these Yeezys over the last few months. And another pattern as well is the colorways. Now the colorways are definitely sticking with the safe earth tones. They've gone very safe in the last 3 or 4 months. For a while there at the back end of 2019, they got a real, you know, they got a bit excited, shall we say, and they started bringing out some colorways that were wild. Especially there was a projected colorway that I don't think ever dropped that had like purple and yellow and all that kind of stuff clashed together. So at the end of 2019 they were kind of getting experimental, and then 2020 hit and they went straight back to their, you know, safe zone in the wheelhouse. They've been dropping these earth tone sneakers. They just seem to be in a like a lighter or darker sort of variant along that brown or that tan line, and that just, you know, isn't changing. And they know that's safe. Always the earth tones have been safe at the Yeezy line, and they're going with that sort of safe design. But what they're also doing, and this is my opinion about their sales, is that they're dumping as much on the market as possible. I said in a previous video about the flax and there's something else that dropped the same weekend as the flax. I can't remember what it was, but I said in that about how I think they're dumping as much on the market as possible because they know that people still have a bit of cash in their pockets right now, and they'll be like, you know what, should I, shouldn't I? Oh, you know what, I'll just go ahead and spend 300 bucks on a pair of sneakers. But then in about 6 months time, people are going to have no money in their pockets, and it's not even going to be a dilemma. People just won't have the money to spend. It won't be like a should I, shouldn't I. it'll be, I can't, I just literally cannot because I don't have this money. So what they're trying to do, I think, is trying to dump as much on the market as possible before the actual pinch hits your pocket. And that might be the case with these guys. They're coming, you know, thick and fast, the Yeezys these days, which is a bit faster than they had been dropping them in the previous month. So for me, that's what they're doing. Now that really came to the forefront as far as I was concerned when I read about these guys. You know, I usually research, in fact I always research the sneakers before I stand up and talk about them every single day. And what I read about these ones was that the earth tones bring a new vitality to the Yeezy line or something like that. And I was like, what? That's a lot of BS, because there's nothing new about earth tones in Yeezys. They've been dropping earth tones for literally years, for as long as the Yeezy line's been around. Tans and browns and beiges and that kind of stuff. That's sort of the wheelhouse. That's the center of the Yeezy line. So when I read that at a reputable website that the new earth tones were bringing a new vibrance to the Yeezy line, I knew they were pushing sales. This is sales, sales, sales. They're trying to push these guys out as fast as possible because they know if they hold onto this stock in 6 months' time, they'll never be able to shift it, so they're trying to get it out there. Now, that's not to say it's not a shoe you shouldn't take a look at, because as far as I'm concerned, the 350 V2 is a classic silhouette that will go down in like that history of sneakers. You know, there are certain sneakers that people look back on and say, you know, that was a classic sneaker of its time, and I think the 350 V2s will represent that in time, and I do particularly like this silhouette in all of the Yeezy lines. And then particularly this colorway, I kind of like it, to be honest. I did see one particular site was saying that this has got a brown, beige and black colorway going on in there, and they were talking about the stripe on the side being black. I don't see it. I see dark brown. All I see is dark brown and beige, and then that grey hit that I was talking to you about earlier that I'll get into in a minute. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a very brown sneaker with that beige sort of undertone on that, and you can see that in the upper detailing. Now recently they haven't been quite so experimental, is that the right word, with the upper kind of on Yeezys, but this one, it goes back a bit to sort of things like the I've forgotten what they call it, statics. How can I forget the name of the statics? And how they had two colours playing off each other in the upper as opposed to one dominating the other. And if you see zoomed in on the green screen here, you should be able to see that that brown and that tan kind of work together. And then we'll take a look at that translucent stripe along the side, and hopefully it'll appear brown rather than black on the green screen here. But that'll get me into, let's go to the front of the sneaker, to that grey bit that I was talking about. Now I don't see where this comes in on this colourway. I don't see the point of it. So for one, the Yeezy 350 V2s, they come to a point in the middle of the toe box where it raises up and you have this oversized stitching that runs all the way up the tongue, and if you look at that, it's definitely got that grey vibe going to it. So you run along all of that into the lacing system, then up onto the top line. The top line is solid grey, doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the sneaker and the colorway, and then all the way to the back and down the stitching that runs vertically at the back of the sneaker. And again, it's like a grey line that runs all the way from the front to the back of the sneaker. It just doesn't fit in with the tan or the browns on here, and I'm not sure what they were going for, if it was a deliberate ploy to go for that in the sneaker, or if they just had some excess grey sitting around and they wanted to get it off the shelves. But to me, it's a bit I would have preferred to have gone with that deep brown or tan in both of those places, but going with grey, I don't know why they did that, but you know what? It's their choice, it's their sneaker. Another thing to look at is on the outsole and the midsole. Now the midsole is a very light, it's even lighter than tan. Is beige lighter than tan? I don't know what you could go to. Sandy, desert sandy, very light midsole on there. But if you compare it at one end, I don't know which one, maybe at the back, we'll look at the heel, and you can see that the outsole itself is ever so slightly lighter, darker I should say, than the midsole, and that outsole on there is in a sort of tan, light tan kind of gumsole, almost gumsole colorway, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I did see it was one of those ones that I talked about recently. It wasn't the cinders, wasn't it was the flax. The flax is, I think, hopefully I'll be able to put up the outsole and the flax, and you can see how the outsole and the midsole is one unit on them. But then here with this one today, with these Zyons, you can see that there's definitely distinction between the two, lighter on the midfoot and then midsole, and then darker on the outsole. So I'm not a huge fan. I prefer it if they're both the same color. And then the final thing that we want to have a look at is to go up high and look at the sneaker from the lateral side and just kind of see the gradient from that grey at the top down to the brown in the stripe, and then the lighter midsole and then the darker outsole, and it doesn't quite fit together for me. It's just a bit like 2 or 3 different sneakers that they've tried to cram in together on this one, and it doesn't just you know, it isn't my favourite colourway. There have been a lot of tan or earthy colourways that I've liked down, you know, the 18 months I've been doing these daily videos. But this particular one, it just doesn't really float my boat, as they say in the UK. So for me, it's just like a bit of a no for me, but you know what, other people out there are probably going to crawl all over it anyway. The 350 V2s tend to sell pretty well, so this guy's probably gonna do that. And it's scheduled, I think, to drop on May 30th, if I'm right. I think this video is going to drop on May 19th, so that gives us like 11 days prior to the drop for this thing to gather its hype and to sort of get out there and into the world. And you know, as with all Yeezys, they tend to be really hyped before they're released, so we'll see where this one goes. But like I say, for me, it's just a, you know, it's just a bit of a so-so. And that's about it for today. So I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Zyon, the Matrix, strange name, but with that religious overtones, the colourway itself, and that grey bit. I just don't get that grey bit on there. But that's just me. Maybe you have a difference of opinion out there. And if you do, I always like it when people tell me that at the channel. So hit me up with a comment down below. For now, though, it's time for me to do what I do at the end of every single video, which is to sign off by saying that I do this every single day, which means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.